So welcome to the Aramir Roundtable. Today is the 8th of January in 2020. So welcome everyone, and we have a special guest, Ron Buckner from Choice Trade and Rance from iVest. So he's our trading tool. So we're going to have an interesting look at a platform that I know we've all been using Thinkorswim, OptionView, or OptionNet Explorer for a long time, and always looking for a good options analysis tool. And I think you'll like what you see because this is pretty interesting and adds some nice capabilities if you're using Thinkorswim. And Ron has some nice offers for using their brokerage. So welcome, guys. Appreciate having you on.
Glad to be here.
Tom.
So just before we get too into it, just the normal disclosure that Aramir Corporation is not a broker-dealer or investment advisor. It's for educational purposes only. Options, futures, currencies all involve risks and are not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. If you'd like to read the whole disclosure, just pause the video, go at the bottom of any of our web pages. So with that, I'm going to stop my share, and then Rance, are you going to take over from here? You're going to drive?
I will do that, yes.
Okay.
All right.
And I see your screen, so we're good to go.
Perfect.
So I'll mute myself just so there's no background distractions, but I'll be here for the whole time. If there's any questions, I'll pop in.
Okay. And if there's anything that you want to, add as we're going through this, by all means, feel free to hop in as well. All right.
I will. All right.
Just sizing this a little bit better for us here for today. There we go. All right. So I'm going to be sharing with you two versions of the platform today and tell you a little bit where this came from, this conversation here with Tom, and that is as he was working with Choice Trade. Choice Trade Elite is a platform available on the Choice Trade site, and this has been a long relationship that we've had with Choice Trade. We've done a lot of custom work specific for them and really working to develop a platform that was, just really effective for both stock and really dive into options as well. And through this, we met Tom, and Tom expressed that there's a lot of people out there that would want this. It's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily have a Choice Trade account right now. And so we, are a platform provider, although Choice Trade is our exclusive broker relationship. We do also have the platform available. And so there is also the version that Tom and I worked on for you guys. So it's available either way. And I'll talk a little bit about, in fact, let me just share a little bit of the difference. The platform is $39.95 a month. So I'll just tell you that right up front. And with Choice Trade, there's actually a little bit of an advantage in that it includes for that the real-time streaming, and with the platform directly, you have to streaming's an add-on. However, if you do have, let's say, a TD Ameritrade account or E-Trade account that you log in with them, you get real-time snap. It's not streaming, but it is real-time snap at no additional cost. And then, of course, if you want to add streaming, you can. With Choice Trade, that is included. And also, Choice Trade has and I want to make sure I represent this right, Ron. So if you could help out here, if they have how much on deposit, they get the platform for free.
Yeah, Rance. If they have a deposit of $30,000 or more, maintained, we would provide it for free. So, and we do have, and our retail price is $29.95. So it's actually $10 less if you're doing it through Choice Trade, and free if you have a balance of $30,000 or more. Right.
So there's definitely a little bit of an advantage there. I will also tell you that I just have to mention this because I think that I found Choice Trade a while back because their commission's pricing was excellent. And there's been a recent change in the industry which leveled some of that, but not really on options arena. So the setup here is for stock trades. It is commission free at Choice Trade, and for options trades, it's 15 cents a contract, but it's a $50 max for the month. So
actually, Rance, it's 40 cents a contract.
I'm sorry, 40 cents. I'm sorry,
yep.
my mistake.
Yeah,
40 cents.
40 cents. A
Yep.
contract, yeah, maybe I can just go through that. It's 40
Please.
cents a contract, to a maximum of $50 per month. If you're trading regular equity or ETF options. If you're trading an index such as the SPX, there is a surcharge that we would provide for your group at 75 cents per contract. So the all-in rate would be $1.15 commission plus regulatory fees. But after 125 contracts, or essentially when you hit the $50 max on the 40 cents, then that goes to zero, and you're only paying the 75 cents thereafter. So it should be a significant savings over the brokers. And if you're just trading equity options and you're trading very actively, that could be, a phenomenal savings.
Well, and a lot of people on here I know do spreads, right? So in a spread trade, if you do a 10 lot vertical, that's 20 contracts in and 20 contracts out, right? So you're already at a 40 contract thing off of one trade. So it's real easy to get that 125 contracts, especially when you're doing spreads, because of how the cost of spreads work out. So it's a great opportunity there. I also want to mention one more thing about this. I've used, and in fact, I have, because of the platform, because I have several brokerage accounts at different places, the fill rate, which is, especially when it comes to options, and some of these bid-ask spreads are big enough to drive fly a 747 through. It makes a big difference when you can get between that spread. And the fill rates that I've experienced at a choice trade are just exceptional, and quite honestly beats any of the big boys. So just something to consider there as you're looking at it. It's not just the commission, but how you get filled. And with that, you have the opportunity for the platform here. At no cost to you, with a amount on deposit and a benefit without. But the other one we want to make sure that you're are aware of is that we do have the platform available. If you have a different brokerage account with one of our supported brokers and want to use it that way, you can still connect to Choice Trade. And then if you end up migrating over there, you can switch over to their platform, and we can work with you to make sure that all your data is preserved if you move over to them. So with that, let me jump into a little bit of the tool. I am going to use this version mostly because this is actually in my development system, and that's where I spend most of my time. So I have a lot of my data in here. So that's why we're going to use this one versus this. And also, just because of Zoom, I have turned off streaming for the presentation. You can see, obviously, we have streaming here. This is the streaming provided through Choice Trade. And for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to hold off on streaming within this, just to make sure that we don't have latency in the presentation. So with that, let me jump into that. So this is the main market page. It's when you first log in. It's going to have your major. Turn on my little pointer thing here. You have your major indices over here on the left. We also track over time the advanced decline line and the 52-week high, 52-week low. As you can see, we've been doing really well there on that particular area. Things are looking pretty good. Over on the right-hand side, we have our heat maps. There are several different ones available to you. Here's the S&P 500, shows you the major sectors, and then also shows you a heat map of the sectors broken down by the industry groups. And then from here, you can actually drill down and go into these. And if you drill down to the actual industry group level, you see the stocks that are available at that point. So it gives you a kind of broad view of the market. Here's your watch list. Watch lists are available both in a tile view and in a normal list view. You can look at different periodicities and all that stuff on this as well. So let's just take a look here. One of the things you'll notice here is that there's a scoring thing, and this is actually a very powerful part of the program, and it carries throughout the platform, where you have these 4 scores. This first one is technical analysis. The second one is inner circle. That's the institutional activity and insider activity. The third one is valuation. Is the stock over, undervalued. It also looks at some key ratios. And then fundamentals. And these are also in this order for a very important reason, because technical is going to be a lot quicker indicator. It kind of goes down to where fundamentals are a quarterly number, right? Quarterly reporting. So that's going to be the slowest of the indicators. So depending on how you're trading, you might lean more on the front 2 of these or the latter ones, and depending on if you're playing something that's a momentum, just running with current momentum in the trade. You may not care as much about that, but at the same time, as the stock's running up, it starts to get overvalued. You get to see that going on here, right? So to take out, to take that a little bit further, let me jump into Amazon. And as I go into this, you now get to see some more color on what that score is. We have here the dashboard view. Gives you technical analysis, talks about what we're using for our scoring here is MACD, RSI, and a momentum. And momentum's broken into 4 areas from really short term to much longer term. And it shows you how that's doing there. You have inner circle, you have what the insiders are doing, the institutional ownership, some of the key ratios and valuations. And here you have fundamentals with sales, asset growth, equity growth, net earnings growth, and that's these little lights here that kind of tell you what's going on in these different areas. However, just to show you how this is designed, because it's really designed for fast consumption of information to help you make the decision and move on, but has the depth of information there for you if you want. So for example, here I have fundamentals. If I want to go deeper dive on that, by the way, I could click the tab to go there, or I can click anywhere in the system where you see a score. That's a navigation point to get straight there. So if I want to go straight to fundamentals, I could just click that on the watch list. That would take me there. Here we now have visual fundamentals, so you can see the trends here of how sales and assets and equity growth are going, and margin, the net income's down a little bit and colored accordingly. And then if you look at the this the profitability, that's the P&L statement. Growth is balance sheet. Well, if I want to go deeper dive on that, I can go into that. And then from here, so this is the P&L statement, and I can also drill down to this to whatever level I want to be able to look at that. And the other thing we did with this is we color coded this so you know what's improving and what's decaying, so that you can immediately just process that information a lot faster. It just makes it easier to absorb, right? So so again, it's like there's a lot of things in here that are layered that way. And at the same time, if you're working on it from a high-level view, as you start to dig into those layers, you find that you can really get a good sense of what's going on at even just the dashboard level to be able to make a decision quickly. So the score is a real important part of the system, and yet it's also done as a way to be able to process information quicker and be able to make a decision. We also do have extensive charting. Now, charting is charting, so I'm not going to go. Let me just jump over to, let me jump to Apple for just a second. And let me do my Prime. So I just wanted to set up and get to a particular position here to show you this, to show you some of the feature set here specifically. Okay, so this is a chart on Apple. Now we have, all the primary indicators, all the stuff there you can do and set those yourself. You can set a whole bunch of different chart profiles, so you can flip very quickly between one setup and another. But that's just kind of your standard pieces of what would be out there. What I want to focus on for just a moment is some of the unique elements of what we have available within the platform. So one of the things you'll notice here, I'm going to actually turn off or hide some of the normal indicator pieces for just a second. And you'll notice a couple things here I just want to share with you. It's not the right, here we go. First of all, you'll notice these green lines over here. This is automatically drawn support and resistance lines extended off the chart. So it just helps you, and you can set the periodicity for that. So it just kind of keeps you in line of what's going on there. The trend lines that you see here are sticky. If I draw a trend line, that trend line is there until I delete it. Or you can delete the whole group if you want to clean the chart up. But the point being is you can draw trend lines predicting out what you think a stock is going to do, because you can extend beyond the end of the chart, work through that, come back and see how it's filling in. And a lot of, whether you're a stock trader or an options trader, you still are trading the behavior a lot of times of the stock. And it gives you a great opportunity to be able to predict where you think it's going to go and see how it plays out that way, because you can go beyond the end of the chart, and it's also because it's sticky. And then you have this, as a reference point for you in the past. The other thing that we have here are we display your positions on the chart. So I happen to have a bull call spread, a 230, 240 bull call spread. How do I know it's a bull call spread? I'm long green, long the 230 call, short red, short the 240 call. So I'm in a 230, 240 bull call spread. So it shows me the strike prices right across here, so I can see that. If I buy a stock, this is a stock position I have, it tells me the cost basis of the stock and shows me that on here as well. If I have a working order or a staged order, that's displayed on here by dots for staged, working, live orders, or dashes. So you have your things you're thinking about in dots, things that are actually out there in the market working, trying to fill is dashes. Once it's filled, it becomes a solid line. So you get the a very quick visual of where you're at in this. And then as you trade, we'll get into this a little bit more in just a moment. We have a trade journal, and the trade journal functionality is actually one of the most powerful parts of the platform. And what we do with this is we actually show on the chart all of your past trades on that particular stock. So you can see here, this is an open, the blue dot's an open, and then the red or green dot, depending on whether it was profitable or not, is the close. And then right down here below this, it tells you what that trade is. So you can hover over it and see I did a bull put spread, took in a 234 credit, and I exited this trade for the $234 profit on this particular day. So it shows you your trading history right on the chart, so you can keep track of how you're doing with that. So it's a pretty handy part of the platform to be able to do. Plus, there's a lot more in that we'll touch on in just a second. Back to this, we talked about the market page. I want to touch for just a second on, here we have the watch list page. The watch list page has the benefit of, full screen for that. You can, again, set your charts the way you want, or if you want to go into the list view, it has a lot more detail about the stock available in that as well. You can create as many watch lists as you want. And there's personal watch list available to you. You can have, I think it's 100 stocks per watch list and as many watch lists as you want. And then we also, of course, the most actives in that as well. And then we also have dynamic list. Now on here, I'm not showing much in the dynamic in my dev system, but we have a list where we create for you. Like, for example, we take the S&P 500, we break it into the major sectors and give you the largest cap on that, so you can get that list. So it's a dynamic list available to you too, but it gives you the ability to kind of work through and find those, find opportunities to do that as one of the ways to be able to do it in the system. So the other thing we want to focus on for a moment here, and this will be interesting to see if this is planned. Yes. All right. So this is our find capability. And actually, let me share with you 3 quick things on finding opportunities within the platform. One, we have our earnings calendars and dividend calendars, so you can go out and choose any particular day and see the stocks that are coming out on that day. One of the things about if you go to the past, and you look at it, it's going to show you both the estimated and the actual and color codes, whether or not they hit the number or not, so you can see that very quickly. Of course, in the future, you're going to see just the estimates, but you can see how many are coming up. And you can do it by, again, by sector or by major industry group or all equities, and be able to see that. So it's one of the ways you can find some, for those that trade earnings, especially with options, that you can find those opportunities out in front of you. We also have then a much more detailed heat map on this page than we saw on the front page. Because of the real estate, we take it down to the stock level. And you can, with this, there's not only can you look, like if I want to look at all optionable stocks, it's, there's a heat map of literally over 3,000 stocks showing up here in this particular view. The size of the box is the market cap, the color, whether it's up or down on the day. But there's also, let me go back to S&P for just a second. There's also a lot of other things that you can look at here. So for example, I can just look at, in fact, one of my favorites actually is 52-week high-low. This is showing you, and the reason I like this is twofold. One, I can see what stocks are hitting new highs. So you look at this right now, these bright greens, and if you look, I can't put the mouse over the pop up there, but you can see that 52-week high-low, 101.45. That's at its 101 percentile. So it's 1.45% above its previous 52-week high. And again, if you look at, this here at Cisco is at its 30th percentile of its 52-week high-low range. So not doing near as well. The thing I like about this particular screen, though, is not only does I can find, some new highs very quickly, I can also just get a real good sense of the health of the market or the health of the sector. For example, energy here not doing near as well as some of these other areas. Right, so you have this one outlier here in hardware, Cisco, a couple little ones here, but you look at, financial services very strong, communication strong, technology actually pretty strong. Here you have some weakness over here, so it lets you see kind of what's happening in that perspective as well. And again, that's over its 52-week high-low range, not just the movement on the day or the week. You can also filter by a whole bunch of things over here. So if I only wanted to look at stocks that were, let's say the 80th percentile or higher toward a new high, I can do that and get down to that list very quickly. So it's a great way for you to be able to do this. If you want to see more about any particular stock, you can click on it. It will give you a quick quote on it. And then if you want to go over and you can trade from here, or you can also do the deeper research from there. But then I want to focus here on scans for just a moment. So on the scan portion of the platform, we have a lot of different scans in here. We have ones that are specific for if I want to just find, 50, all green today, I can do that and just look at the ones that have an all square green. One that I really actually like quite a bit is all green except for technical with a turnaround potential, where you can see that it's looking good, but the trend has been down or might be, but it's starting to come back up. So notice on all of these, it's starting to come back up. So it's fundamentals and institutional insider activity is good. It's good, undervalued, but the chart hasn't come around to it yet, but it's started to. So it's a great opportunity there too. So there's all sorts of scans in here. Time-wise, can't go into too many of them. But one area I do want to focus on is the strategy specific part of this and get into some of the options functionality at the same time. So if we go to the strategies part, under the strategies, you have all of these different parts of this. And the, here we have some covered call opportunities. Here we have some bullish options strategies. And so if I just take one of these, for example, here we have a bull put stock above the 200-day SMA. Now, by the way, when you first come in, this is what your screen will look like. It gives you a brief description. But if you want a deeper dive description of what the trade does, what the scan's about, there's the info button that will give that to you. So for example, in this particular one, looking for bull put spreads that are 20 to 60 days to expiration, at least a 10% return on the risk, that you're seeing the stock is greater than the 200-day moving average, and we have both a MACD and a bullish MACD and bullish stochastic signal, obviously optionable. And then it also does things like make sure there's strong volume and make sure there's no earnings reports coming out during the life of your trade, things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that this will do for you. And if I just take and let's just jump into this one here and show you this. If I go into this, I'm going to go to the list view here. You'll notice that not only do I have my symbols and scores and all that, but it actually gives you the very specific trade, because it's a trade finder scan, very specific position. I have here the January 30th options, and I'm using here on Google, it's the 1370 strike I'm shorting, 1360 strike that I'm buying for a net credit of $1.77. That's a 20% return in that period of time. If I max out, it breaks out the risk and all that for you as well. And you'll also notice that there will never be an earnings report prior to the expiration of the trade. So then if I want to go into one of these and take a deeper look at it, we'll just take, just because this is a $1,400, we'll just bring it down a little bit. We could do this too, but we'll take the trade desk. Let's go here. And now I'm also going to introduce you to options at the same time. So I'm going to go to the options place on this. Actually, kind of jumped the gun on that, but let me go ahead and do it this way. So what this is our options page. This is an options template. And I'm going to show you option chain in just a second. And you'll notice here that it brought up that exact trade. So I have the 265, 257.50, 265 position for $1.53. If you look at the current bid and ask, that's already calculated to be between the spread. You can see here on the slider that goes from natural to mid where that's represented. And you can also then see down here, if I can blow this up a little bit for you. Down here, what we have is the this position here. This is our standard risk graph. Let me do this. This is a standard risk graph, but we turned it on its side so it matches the pricing on the chart. And then what we've done here is we've drawn these performance channels that let you know where your profitability is and so on. So if you see here, the light red, you're already at max loss. You can't lose any more than that. The dark red is where the action is up to the point you're at break even. Then you have the dark green to the max gain, and then you're at max gain, so you can't make any more, so it's that light green. So you can see that very quickly. You'll notice the stock's all the way up here, deep into the light green, where our break even is at 263 and the stock is at 286, 263 to 286. So it's a nice buffer there for us. You can see it's kind of at this line of support resistance thing here. And the distance back on this chart is how many days you are in the trade, right? So in this particular instance, we're 23 days in the trade. So this is going to shaded 23 days back. Now we know that past performance is not indicative of future results, but we all look at it. So we give you that reference point so you can have an idea of how that's going to play out, right? So then you see the trade here. You'll see down here your calculations, the net credit amount, total credit. I'm in a 5 lot because that's where my setting's at right now. I have my break even, max reward, max risk calculations. I even have my net Greeks over here. If you're not as into trading the Greeks on these, you can actually hide that here. So it just keeps it clean for you. So it keeps the idea here in the template is a couple things. I want to do this trade for a moment. So because I came into this off the scan, so we're just going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to explain a couple other things about this. So this trade comes in, I like it. All I have to do is hit the trade button, fills out my trade ticket, ready to go, and I will place that trade. And there we go. And now we have that trade out there working for me, right? So and then by the way, now that I have this working for me, if I go over here to the chart, and look at this, you're going to notice now that now you have 2 lines across the chart, but they're dotted or dashed lines, right? This is an indication that this is a working order not yet filled, but you can see my position right there on it. And again, as you're evaluating this, you look at, if you come back in, you're in a filled position, you can very quickly see where your stock is in comparison to your position. So it makes it really kind of handy. All right, so let me show you a couple other things about this. A couple things about the template view, and then I'll show you the chain view. And the template view, what you have here is the template. Yeah, so I have 20-some templates in here, all the major mainstream strategies. The system will identify about 67 different strategies, but in the template form, we're using the common ones in here. But so if I choose here, this bull put, a couple things you'll notice. First of all, if I change a quantity here, right, and there's a couple ways to change it, but let's just say the simple way. If I enter in the quantity, it's going to immediately change both, because if it's not, it's no longer a bull put spread. Same thing if I change the date, it's going to change both. Here, if I have my strikes, you'll notice I click on this, you'll notice that anything below from the 257.50 and below, I can't even click this. It doesn't do anything because that would no longer be a bull put spread. So if I click on something above that, it'll now, you'll see this at the 65. We'll just change it to the 62.50, for example. So I can do that. But the point is, you will be in the strategy you want to be in, right? So if you've been out there for any length of time, all of us have had this happen where you've clicked the wrong thing here or there, and you end up in a different trade than you had anticipated. The thing about this is you'll be in that trade. Right. So, and then if you're looking at this, the chart down here, and you're looking at your position, and you want to work this, right? So this happened to come in from a scan, so we just took what we had there. But if I wanted to work this trade, came into it, and wanted to position it better, you can change the strikes and work it that way. But the other thing that you can do, and it's actually particularly helpful, is to be able to move the entire trade. So I have this $5 bull put spread, and I want to move the entire trade up or down. So I'm going to push these roll up, or what I call rolling icons, rolling icons here, but I want you to pay attention down here on the chart for just a moment. And I'm going to roll this down here a little bit, and you can see I could come down here, out of range on the strikes now. So I can get down here where, it's really under that support level. But then I can look at this and say, okay, based on these, now I'm at a 6%. That's not enough. I'm not liking the risk reward ratio, so maybe I won't do that. So I'm going to go look at rolling back up a little bit in the position and get where I'm really comfortable with it. But the point being here, like let's say if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive and take that one, that's a lot more aggressive. That's a 52% return, right? So it lets you work the trade the way you want to find the result, and then from there be able to place that. And it just makes it a lot easier to work it from that perspective to visually make the decision. Right? So also what we have over here on the right hand side is a snapshot of the trade. It gives you kind of when you would place this, how volatility and time impact the trade, and so on. We also do have the volatility charts and that down here as well. So that's the template view of options. Let me jump over here to the main chain view for options. And to do that, just click on this. This will be the option chain view. And in this, by the way, you can have custom views. I'm going to go with the basic pricing view here just for ease of the display for us today. But you can have, there's system views, and then you can also have your custom views. You can drag and drop the fields around, decide which fields you want, and it'll, if you have a lot of data points beyond what it'll display here, it scrolls and it stays in sync and all that stuff. So go back to the simpler view for a moment though. So in this particular case here, I just have my option chain, and to do a trade in here, you can obviously do anything you want in this. You can analyze as many different legs as you want in this, although most breakers only support 4 in a single trade. You can certainly analyze more than that in the position in that as well. So if I come in here and I'm looking at this, let's do on this side, we'll do a bull call. Real simple thing here. I'm just going to go and do we'll do a $5 bull call on this. And now what I did, so you can enter a quantity in here, or you can just simply click on bid or ask. So ask is going to add a buy position. You can see I clicked it. It shows the green 5. The bid puts in the minus sign, which is how you indicate sell in our platform here. -5, it shows up in red, so you know that that's what that is representing as well. The clicks on this are set by this multiplier. So if I do this and I just click multiple times, every click is going to be by a factor of 5. It just makes it easier if you're trading larger lots, not to have to click it a whole bunch of times to get there. Right? So then over here you have your risk graph, again, readily available for you. And there's a couple things here that are particularly helpful. So I want to show it with you. First, it shows you what the position is, shows you the net amount in the trade, in this case 410 for the 5 contracts, a $2,000 trade. And I'm looking at this going, is this really what I want to do here? Let me kick this around a little bit, think about a couple ways to approach it. One, I'm not liking this. I might want to widen the trade up a little bit. Instead of it being, a $5 trade on a $300 stock, I might want to open that up a little bit. And I can do that by just using, again, these rolling icons. And, now we're in a $10 position here instead of a $5. And I can also move it up and down. So let me just share with you 2 versions of this real quick. So right here is one where I'm at the 87.97 or 287.297 position. And you can see that position represented over here. This black line here, this represents the stock as it is today. So you see that risk graph. You're going, I'm not sure if I want to do that, or I might want to approach it a little different way. So I can go up here and take a snapshot of that trade. And you can see that's in the red line, red header, red camera. So there's 2 cameras up here. So you can do with 2 trades plus your current active trade. So you can analyze up to 3 trades at the same time. So here I have this trade in here now, and I want to do this. I want to come down. And I don't know what would happen if I did it, rolled this thing down, maybe did something like this. let's take a look at this one here. Now I have the blue one over here, and you can see here very quickly, the blue one doesn't require any movement to make money. If it goes up a little bit, I can get my max gain. The red one's requiring more movement to be able to profit, but it has a better risk-reward ratio. So you're kind of weighing out which way you want to go here. And if I look at this, I can see the red one. Here's my cost for the red one is $5. The blue one is $6.10. You know, and so you kind of weigh out which one to do, and then all you have to do is select which one you want. So if I like the blue one better, you know, obviously it depends on your outlook on the stock. Do I think it's going to trend enough to make it worthwhile to do this, or do I think it's going to be a slower move and I want to do it this way? So you decide which one you want. From there, all it takes is that hit that trade button, loads up that trade ticket for you. Here you can work that bid-ask spread more to get between that. And again, we'll hit that ready to go and place that that trade as well. So the so there you go. So that's the you know, that's a little bit on how to be able to use the general functionality here. However, there are some other things here that are very, very helpful to know. One, with the rolling icons, by the way, I have this red one. If I want to get rid of that, if I decide this isn't what I want to do, I can. Sorry, with the messaging thing going for that trade. Anyway, so if I decide the red one's not one I want, I could exit out and then do another one. If I want to redo my blue one here, I can clear that out and I could go do something else here as well. So hitting it once gets rid of the current trade, hitting it both clears out the whole thing. I wanted to clear out the whole thing for just a second because I want to show you one other function, bit of function here. And in this particular one, I want to bring up a straddle position. And so here I just did the at the money straddle play. And the reason I wanted to do that is because a straddle play, unlike a vertical, is a lot more sensitive to changes in time and volatility. So I wanted to show you a little bit of the capability here. So on the Go Big button, there's some additional functionality available to you. What this will show you here is both a date picker and a volatility slider picker capability. So let's say that I plan on getting this trade. This is expiring on February 7th, but really this is a position that, you know, they're coming out with earnings next Friday. So, you know, once they come out with earnings, I'm out of the trade. Win, lose, draw, whatever, I'm out. So I'm not going to deal with my expiration, you know, in this particular instance, literally 15,000 in the size I did of risk in the trade, 14,900 risk in the trade if I go to expiration. But I know I'm not going to go to expiration. I'm only going to go to there, you know, to when the earnings come out. So where does that put me at? That puts me at closer to about a $3,100 risk in the trade. And I'm seeing that up here in this corner. When I do this, I can see where I put the cursor, I can see the risk factor, right? So you can look at it in whatever timeline you want. And additionally, here we're at 51 is a current IV. The average IV, and that's, if I pop this up real quick, let me just show you just the IV for a second. So here you have the IV. The yellow line here is the average, the one-year average, and you can see where the IV is now. You can also kind of tell where it has a tendency to go around earnings. Right, so this last one was its last earnings. It went to 86 volatility. So if you wanted to say, well, what would happen if this ran up to an 86 volatility? You can do that. It'll bring it up here and it'll show you what the risk graph would look like at that point. And if it repeated itself in that, literally, if you got in this right now, you'd see that, you know, my highest risk between now and expiration, if that volatility went up, would be absolutely minimal. And yet either way it goes, I have the ability to make money on it. So it's a great way to be able to do a deeper analysis if you want to. You can also even stair step through time how the trade's going to play out. Literally, you know, really do that kind of level of analysis if you want. So that's a little bit of that additional function. And by the way, you can also do that with 3 trades. Last thing I want to mention here, because I know we have some advanced options traders on, we also have this options chain analysis tool here. And if I just add a couple expiration cycles to that, oh, we got some unusual. So there's this July, there's 10,000 open interest on this one option, which is kind of flattening out some of that. So just to show it better, let me do it this way. So what this is showing us is a 3D graph of the expiration cycles. Bring in January here as well. And we have some unusual here. That's why you're seeing these kind of flatline. But just to show a little better, let me go this way. So you're seeing here what the open interest is in the volume. And I happen to really like open interest in the volume because you can, if you're playing earnings, you can kind of see, when volume starts to hit open interest, there's that's a lot of activity on a particular day. It can be a really helpful thing in making some of your decisions, especially around earnings plays. But there's all sorts of things I can do here. I can look at the delta of the trade. I can look at the extrinsic value of the positions. And then each of those dots represent a strike. And this is the April 17th, $300 strike, and has a delta of 0.49, right? So you can see that available to you as well. So there's some of that more advanced functionality available. One of the other ones that people do like, so I'll show you this really quick. If I go to just a single option for just a moment, let's take this down to one. And I want to see, so here's my standard option, and I want to see a chart of how that option's done. Now, what this will show you, I happen to be on a weekly, so there's not a lot of a history on this, but what this will actually show you is the day-by-day closing values of the options. I chose more of a standard expiration cycle here. It will show you, let's see, do this. And you'll be able to, again, you'll be able to see that. Now you've got just because we have, I just want to clean up so you can just see the one thing. Now you can see that and how that's behaving over time. But the cool thing about this is that you can actually do that with the entire trade. So if I had a spread on or something like that, I could actually see the value of the whole trade during that same life of those options. So just again, a little bit more information there available to you. And then there's one other really powerful options capability here that I want to share with you, and that is that, and I'm going to kind of share a two-part thing right at the same time here. I'm going to go back to this bull put, but what I'm going to do is look in the past here. Let me go back to like, I don't know, September 9th. So I go to September 9th here. I'm seeing the stocks that were on this trade on that day. Now, we'll tell you that these trades are updated every 30 minutes throughout the day. If you're looking in the past, it's the last one of the day that it is showing you in that context. Right. So then you have let's say here, just take the first one, this Google trade. If I click on this one now, and I go over to my options piece, you'll notice something that happens. First of all, it's on the bull put because that's a strategy I'm on. It's also in back testing mode on that September 9th position with the exact position that it was showing in the trade, that 11:55 bull put. So I'm seeing that, and now you're going to notice something. Your right-hand side looks a little different. It is the backtesting analysis part. So this is a date I entered the trade in my simulated backtest scenario, and then if I go to an analyze date, I can choose any date, forward on that. In this case, it's a bull put, and it's likely an expiration trade. So I'm just going to hit that little expiration tag there, and it'll take me straight out to expiration. And then what I have here is these are the prices when I entered. These are the prices that were at expiration in this particular case, which were zero. Right? So I ended the trade for, in my 5 contract thing, for $885 or $1.77 a contract, or $1.77 a share. And I was able to keep 100% of that credit or a 22% return in that trade. And then also it will show you that trade over time. Right here you can see on this. Again, let me just to make it easier, I'm going to clear out those other pieces. And now I can see literally the life of that trade, the day-to-day value on it as it goes through this. And the other thing about this is you can actually see here in this particular case, Google went down, but because of the time decay element of the trade, even though it went up just a little bit, it still made the trade work out really, really well. So it's a really great way to not only backtest a specific trade, but see the behavior of that trade over the life of the trade. Now, I did this coming from the scans because I wanted to share with you that there is also the look back capability in the scan, but you can do that with any position. You just click the backtest and be able to do that. And that same thing is also available to you in the standard chain. You hit the backtest, and literally all it is, hit the backtest, pick your opening date, pick your go enter your position and then pick your analyze date, and it'll give you that that information. Right. So so it's a little bit on some of the options functionality. Now, one of the things you'll notice as we were doing this, we put on a couple different trades, so I want to show you in the journal a little bit of what happened with that. And this part is one of it. When we did this, I knew it would be helpful, but the amount of feedback we've received from how it's improved people's trading is just quite honestly makes me feel really good about what we've built out in this, because it's been a huge impact for people. So what this is, so if you notice here, we have this this bull put spread. This is the one we did on TTD. This is the one that's out there currently live on this, and you'll notice that it is now, if I open this up, by the way, I can see the details of this trade. It tells me the exact position, the amount, what it was in for. It's telling me that it's a live working trade. As soon as that's filled, this will change to an open position. It says open instead of live, and then it'll also show you exactly what you got filled at. But the thing I want you to notice here is it tells me that this is a bull put, not because I use the template, but because it identifies 67 different strategies. So if I do an uneven butterfly or call ratio back spread or some of these other more, ratio vertical, it's going to be able to label that for you and be able to track it that way. So it'll automatically tag it with the strategy you're doing. In this particular case, I came to this trade through this scan, the bull put stock above 200-day SMA. So it also is showing me, it also tagged that. Plus I can go in and tag whatever I wanted. In fact, when we did the trade, it showed that success and there was a chance there to enter a journal entry. You can do that, but you can also come in here and add, did this as a hashtag demo trade. Now I did the hashtag because what that's going to do when I save that, you'll see here that there we go. You can see now it has added demo to my tags, and you can also add, there's you can add tags down at the bottom directly in the tag section, all that. But so you can have your notes about what you did, why you did it, so on. And then when you close out the trade, it's going to match to that. And in fact, let me just jump down here to some that are closed. It will. So in fact, here's an uneven condor, right, on Lululemon, right? So you can see that does identify these other ones. Here's a bull call spread on Caterpillar. In this particular case, you can see exactly the date you entered, the date you exited. This is what we call the life of trade view. So it groups the trades together. Here's your open on 9/24, closed on 11/15, made $1,525 on the trade. Now, this particular trade, I rode through expiration. I know that because it says expire. And I also know that it both exercised and assigned, because it has that little tag there that lets you know that. So if you get the stock pulled away from you, if it's change in stock ownership, this is yellow. If there's no change in stock ownership, it doesn't color it. If you were executed, it shows up in this little green thing. So it just gives you a little bit more context of what's going on. One other little piece I want to share with you here that's actually kind of a pretty big deal with this is that I'm going to go here to a trade I did on ABC. This was a covered call. Notice something though. I was in this trade for 166 days, and from March through August, made $4 grand in the trade. That's not a single covered call. What that was I got in March, sold the Aprils. April's expired. Sold the Mays. Mays expired. Sold the Junes. Junes expired in the money. The stock was pulled away from me. You can tell that by the little yellow tag. Got right back in it. And then in July, it was in the money, and I didn't want to lose it again. So I rolled it. And if you want to see the roll, you can open this up, and you bought the July's back and then sold the August. So I rolled that. It's an adjustment, tags it automatically as an adjustment, and then wrote it through expiration, in which case I did have the stock pulled away. I'm out of the trade. Each of these sections, it tells you what your profitability was, but then it also gives you the ability to keep this whole thing together as a single package. In the cases where you lost it and you jump back in, and you want to put it in the same trade, like bind it together, there's this little linking thing here where it gives you the ability to link the two groups together so that it's all one trade as far as the way the journal sees it. So it's a really powerful way to be able to manage through that process. Right. So now that I've done that, I'm doing my journal. And so what does that give me? Well, over here on the right-hand side, it gives you some very important information about how you're doing with your trading. Every single tag that you have, it keeps track of how many of those you've done and what your profitability of that particular one is. So for example, here you can see my bull put stock above the 200-day SMA scan. That's a scan. It was auto tagged with a scan. I've done 18 of these in this window of time, and in that, my average trade has made $256. I've won 77% of the time. My average time in trade is 27 days. So I can see that for any of the positions that I'm doing, right? So, and like down here, you can see that it tagged all my expiration trades together. Sometimes people ride things too long into expiration when maybe they shouldn't. So it keeps track of that by itself. I've done 99 trades there, made on average $100 a trade, which means I had some I probably held too long. 67% win rate, 37 days in trade. So it keeps track of all of that information for you of all these different, and then down at the bottom, it will give you the total. So for the last year here in this, we've done a total of 193 trades in this particular account, 67% winners, 44 days on average, $515 profit for just shy of $100,000 total profit in that window of time. So the benefit of this, and by the way, there's a couple of things here. You have some graphs of duration of trade. So you can see my cluster here at about the 30-day mark, and you can zoom in if you want to see that further. And each one of these represent a trade. When you hover, it tells you. Down here, it shows you the trade over time compared to the S&P 500, shows you how you're doing. We compare it to the S&P, so if there's dips in the market in that, you can see if your dips are relative to the market or different. So it gives you that additional insight. But the thing about this, so one of the ways I like to describe this is it's kind of like our heat map, right? So if I look at the S&P 500, I'm seeing that the S&P 500 is we're up. That's the Dow. Here we go. We're up 20 points on the S&P right now, but that today it's kind of an even flow, except for oil and gas, which kind of makes sense for what's going on, and a little bit thing going on in healthcare. But the thing about this is one number. It's like looking at your account balance. It's one number. It's not the whole picture. And what this gives you over here in the heat map is it gives you more of a picture of the sectors in the industry. Well, in the same thing with journal, it gives you the ability to see, well, how am I doing with my verticals versus, or my bull calls versus my bull puts or my straddles or my stock purchases. And the other thing that you can do is you can tag it with anything. So you can say how you made that decision, right? So it scans are tagged automatically, but let's say you're watching Kramer on Mad Money, or you're watching Fast Money at the close of the market, you heard something from Nigerian, or whatever, or your Wall Street Journal. You tag that and how you're finding out about the trades, and then you can see how that's playing out for you. Are those good ideas for you? Is it working for you? You can get that granularity of information to help do a whole lot better in the process. If all you did was stop doing what wasn't working, start doing, do more of what is working, it's going to improve your results. And this gives you the ability to not only have great insight into trades and that you're doing themselves, but also be able to track how you're doing in those specific buckets. So with that, it's kind of a quick overview of the system. We want to give you the opportunity to test drive it, check it out yourself. So what we have set up for you, and then I'll open up to some questions here in just a second. If you have a ChoiceTrade account or want to open up a ChoiceTrade account, it is free. If you have, for the first month period, it's free. If you have the $30,000 on deposit, it's free beyond that. If you want to kick the tires on this for 30 days for free, see how it plays out, you can, we have a site set up for you to be able to sign up. It's arrowmirror.tradetool.com. And you can jump into this, and I'm logged in. I don't want to kick out because the menu is different when you're logged in. There's a sign up page and pricing information on, actually I can do that. I can do that here.
Just go to like an incognito mode.
Yeah, actually, because I'm in my dev, so I can do that here. So here we have the pricing on this, which is at the $39 a month, gives you an idea of what's available to you, and you can sign up. It's free for the first 30 days, and we don't we do require a card to register, but it's not charged or anything for the first month. You can cancel anytime you want. And the other thing about this that I do want to mention, if you do it through this method, if you have an account at any of our supported brokers, Ameritrade, E-Trade, obviously Choice Trade, if you, I'll tell you right up, IB is not one at this time. There's a technology challenge between the two of us because of how we're set up, being browser-based. That so we're not with IB yet. But I know we talked about quite a few of the different brokers that you guys are with, and we support quite a few of them. If, for example, you're on Thinkorswim or Ameritrade and you want to take a look at this, you can jump in here, add your Ameritrade account, and it will automatically sync the last 60 days of your trades into the journal. If you want to, there's a choice to auto journal when you, there's an auto journal choice when you add an account. And it'll pull in those so you can kind of get a flavor for how that's going to work out, how it plays in that. So it's a great way to be able to test drive it. And, again, if you're with Ameritrade, it's just, we're used to Thinkorswim, you can come in and give this a drive and see how it works out. One of the things about this is from in comparison to something like a Thinkorswim, I'm not going to lie, Thinkorswim has some features we don't, except that from an ease of use, ease of navigation, and speed of information, like doing, just getting a risk graph over there can be challenging, let alone trying to use their backtesting method. The ease of use of this platform is it's a lot easier to get the job done. So I recommend, you can give it a test drive here. And again, it's aramar.tradetool.com. And you can sign up there for it and have immediate access to it. Or you can also open up an account with Choice Trade and be able to access it through there as well. And, again, there's a price advantage at Choice Trade. They're kind of supplementing or helping out with that for you. But actually, price advantage is really nice if you have a decent amount on deposit, free. So that's also an opportunity for you. And as you move forward, just to share this with you, as you move forward, the one thing about this is there's virtual accounts in here as well. So you get like that trading experience without risking money on it if you want to give this a try that way. Our virtual accounts are all powered by Choice Trade. So if you come in and you either way you use the platform, you can use the virtual accounts and you'll get a very similar experience to the real trading experience of Choice Trade, because that's, they're the one that drive that. And then, if you decide to move over there, they can obviously help you with that as well if you want to move an account or open an account over there. And again, both from a commission standpoint and from a fill standpoint, Choice Trade has some great advantages to some of the others. So with that, let me wrap up and kick back to you for any questions, Tom, or anything that we want to address before we wrap up today.
Yeah, well, Marcus had a question. Maybe you can pull up the chat real quick because he had 5 questions. First one is, he's on Linux. Can he use the software? Any limitations for Linux users?
So this actually works very well in Linux. There is this is browser based. Now, one of the things you'll notice here is actually a good point to make here. It's called a progressive web app. So what happens, excuse me, if I go in here to a chart, you see this, and I start moving down that list of stocks on there, the speed at which it fills in is not a browser speed. That's a platform speed. But we're actually still on a browser, and it's because of the technology we use. So as long as you can launch a basic browser, the platform will work with you there. We, however, do also have native apps for both Android and iOS, both tablet and phone. And we also have download installables for Mac and for PC. Although I will tell you that the download installable for the desktop, as we've come up with the PWA technology and the speed of this, it doesn't have as great of an advantage, but it's still a little bit. But with Linux, you can just use a browser base and you can absolutely have access to that. Yes. So the next question is, can we change the names of the strategies? The answer to that's not on an ongoing, but yes, you can on a trade, right? So for example, on a trade that I just did, if I did a bull put and when I don't want to call it a bull put, I want to call it a, you know, a bull vertical. And so I label it that way and get rid of this. You can certainly name it. You can name it however you want. We use, you know, the standard industry names, and we actually, the granularity, instead of just calling it a vertical, I'm going to say like a short put vertical versus you know, a bull put spread. You know, you could certainly do that by just tagging it however you want to on a trade. The system names that are generated are, you know, we kind of had to go with a methodology there, and we actually went with one that made them short and sweet. So bull put versus, you know, a short put vertical, or you know, just to make it quicker. But you can absolutely name it you want. And by the way, once you put a tag in here, that's added to your tag library. So as you start to type it, it'll fill in quicker for you and make it easier to do that.
But when you tag it, they won't change the name. It'll just change. It'll just tag it differently, right?
Well, yeah, it tags it differently for all of your analytics over here.
Right.
Yeah.
But on that center column, it'll still say bull put.
It will still say, it will, yes, it will track according to the tag for your results, but it will call it a bull put. Yes. Okay. That's actually a good point. Yes. To make that where it's each user could customize names, that's the first time I've actually had that request directly. But the tagging is something you have complete control over.
I love the tagging, by the way. That's so powerful.
Well, I'll tell you that what we've heard from so many people here, Tom, about you know, where I heard from it, you know, where I heard about a trade was one of them. There's a few different areas that we hear this, but I thought this was a good source for trades, but you know, they didn't track it separate. Right. And so all of a sudden they're finding out that, you know, maybe what they were hearing from Mad Money, when, you know, Kramer, that didn't play out for him quite so well. You know, I'm not saying that there's bad stuff on the show. I'm just saying this particular person wasn't making a lot of money from doing the trades there. You know, and I know there's one guy that has IBD that he's using Can Slim method, that thing, and it's, that's got that old tag in there. That's old, but it works for him, you know. And so every time he does one and uses that method, he tags that and sees how it plays out for him. So it's you know, it is kind of a cool part to work with that. So the next question here was, can I track real P&L of a trade with partial P&L from closed legs? Let's see.
Basically, like he's asking, do you wrap the adjustments in?
And the answer is absolutely yes. Yes. In fact, when I showed you that trade linking piece before, where you could take two separate trades and link them together, in the case of an adjustment where you're basically closing apart, you know, let's just say I opened a bull vertical, I rolled one of the legs, or I, you know, maybe bought it back and sold a higher one to give it more room. Because it's attached to that, a part of that's attached to the first trade you did, it automatically links that together. So any adjustments are automatically pulled in as part of the whole trade. But the other part about it is when you do an adjustment, you can see the cost impact of the adjustment by itself, as well as the total P&L. So it gives you a definite additional insight on that. So, you know, so if you have, say, how are strategies identified? What if you have separate trades in the same expression? So what happens is trades are identified based on when a trade is placed. So if you do two legs at the same time and it's a bull put, it's going to be identified as that. If you were to leg into it and do those two separate ones, in that particular case, you'd need to link them together, and then you can identify it by naming it however you want to name it. But those are going to be seen as two separate legs that you've combined together. So again, just change your tagging and you'll get the results on it. And while the names here are kind of, I mean, I'm not saying it's not important, it is important, but managing or monitoring your results is, you know, a real strong, important part of that. So that's why we've done it with the tagging. From account. So this is one here for you, Ron. Does Choice Trade charge to take money out of your account, like moving it to your bank?
Yeah, if you're sending it through an ACH, which is, you know, for domestic accounts, it's $5, and international is, you know, is by wire transfer, and it's $60.
Okay, all right. There is not an API There was a question about, is there an API available for this? There is not at this time. Another question here is, does the $34 include data fees? So it includes all of the historic data and delayed data for any of the trades. So I say the historic because all of the backtesting data, all of the history on scans, all that stuff is included, as well as delayed data. However, again, if you log into when you hook up a real account to the platform, if you have real time from the broker, we pull in real-time snap quotes into the system for you at no additional cost. In the case of Choice Trade Elite, it does include the data fees, and it does include that in real-time streaming. Within the platform, if you want to do real-time streaming, we hook up to Quote Media, and you get it from them direct, and it's $10 a month plus the exchange fees for that if you want to stream in the platform directly. So it is a bit of a savings if you go with it from Choice Trade. And if you do it from a broker that we connect to, you'll have real-time snap at no additional cost. Can you use the software without the broker account? Yes, can you use the software without the broker account? Absolutely. You can jump into the software and still be able to, in fact, just to share this with you, you can have a virtual account to practice with. That virtual account is going to be powered by Choice Trade, so you get to see kind of what that experience is. And it gives you that, it gives you $100,000 of play money to work with, and can do that. One other thing that we have, and I want to be careful with this, making it sound like it's a trading experience, but we also have manual accounts where it doesn't require the market to even be open. It executes at whatever price you put in. It's more of a learning tool or a logging tool, where if you're trading somewhere else and you want to log the trades in here, you can log a trade in a manual account in the position. And when you do a trade in here with on a manual account, it gives you the opportunity to put a fill rate in. So it has that capability as well.
We're getting some more questions here. I guess the next one is, can you switch between a paper and live account without leaving the platform?
Oh, absolutely. By the way, over here, you'll notice here, I have way more accounts than anybody should have hooked up to the system. By the way, one of the things we do is we allow you to color code them so that as you move through the system, you'll see the color associated, like on the journal and all that stuff. So it helps you keep it going. But literally, if I want to change from one account to another, that's it. The only thing is, it won't, because brokers have different capabilities. If you have a trade ticket filled out and you switch accounts, it blanks the trade ticket. But other than that, literally, that's what it takes to change accounts is just click the other account you want. That's it. And it immediately will switch to that one. So, and then what we've done here is the green over on the side here, green is real, red is virtual, is manual, and yellow is virtual. There's a little color coding on the side, so you know that. So that's just letting you know which kind of account you're in. Plus, it also says at several places you're placing the trade that it's a virtual or manual or real. So, but yeah, it's very, very easy. You don't have to log out and back in, and just click a button and change it.
And then how far back does your historical data go?
The chart data, I don't know, 25 years. The options data is 15 years. Actually, now I guess we're beyond that, 16 years. It's 2002. So we're actually even beyond it. So 2002 till now. I really wanted to pick up 2001 because the anomalies, the black swan stuff that happened, but didn't. So we're at 2002 till now.
And I know there's a question that's a little farther down, but you're on the right screen. He's talking about what's a manual account.
Okay, so what a manual account is like if I go in here and I choose, let me just go choose a manual account. In this, what happens is I decide I want to do a trade on, just pick something here, Adobe. And just because I like doing options, we'll do a quick bull put. And so now when I go to do this trade, I always have to try to position it so it makes sense to do. Right, so I take this trade and I got, okay, it's 248, ready to go. I hit the trade button, and what it's going to do is it's going to bring up this trade ticket for this account called for the manual account, right? And in this, it shows me the current market prices and the total price. I can go, if I'm doing this with a different broker, for example, on a log it, I could put in what I got filled at, either at the leg level or the top level. If you do the top level, it proportionates to the legs. And when I hit that review, this actually will log the trade. It'll show up in the journal under my manual accounts. This is, by the way, where I could add the journal notes thing if I wanted to. So now that trade has just been executed, right? It doesn't matter what time of day it is, whatever. And by the way, one of the great things about this too, if I go back to, let's just pick a different one for just a second. And in this case, I'm just going to do a buy. Let's say that I want to say, I didn't buy it on today. I bought this back in November 11th of last year. I can choose that date, brings up the closing price of that day, put in whatever I want to as my fill, and then I can do that. Here's why this is real important. Let's say you want to learn about, you're practicing straddles around an earnings report, and you've got some earnings reports coming up, like right now, like let's say, today or today after market, right? So you want to go put on a trade a week and a half ago and set it up so that you could see now how it would play through. So you could go back and set it up a week and a half ago, save it in your manual account. Now you've got that trade on as of a week and a half ago in that account. So now when it goes through earnings, you can see how it played out. It's a great way to, in a matter of a couple minutes, be able to understand and learn the behavior of strategies. So a manual account is basically a logging mechanism. It doesn't operate off of execution prices. It's whatever price you put in, but it gives you a great opportunity to be able to work with that. And by the way, if you do a backtest position and you are in and you want to save it to a manual account, you'll notice when I'm in backtest, this does not say trade, it says save. You click that, it brings up your manual accounts. You can have as many of those as you want. And it shows you here your entry ticket, basically, and your exit ticket. And you can save those. You can save only the entry. So again, I'm setting up a trade. I want to see how it's going to play out on today's earnings, or I can save both. So it's a great logging mechanism. As you're having these distinctions and learnings, you can do that, and then you can put in your notes what it was that you discovered about that particular thing, and so on. And then in your journal, you can very quickly decide which accounts. Like I can toggle all these off and go. I only want to see my my manual accounts. Right, and so it's only going to see your manuals. Or I could choose the specific one. I want to see how what that's about, and then you can go into those and be able to see that. You can also the export. It creates a cool PDF of all of that with your notes and everything in it. So especially if you've had a lot of learning that you've done through the process, it's a nice little booklet for you of all of those pieces right in there. So so that's a little bit about what the manual account.
Yeah, for all the people that trade with IB like I do, the manual account's the way to go, because you don't have to get like Option View or Option Explorer. You can use this. It's way cheaper, better journaling, the tagging. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it makes it, we put the manual in actually initially for that exact purpose, to be able to track where you're doing trades elsewhere. And then we found that there was this other great value for it. But absolutely, if you're trading somewhere that's not supporting the platform, it's a great way to be able to do that.
Let's see, where are we at next?
I did see a question asking about the fees again, so I wanted to just go over that for a moment.
Sure.
So if you have an account with Choice Trade, the platform is going to be $29.95, which includes streaming quotes, real-time streaming quotes, and is waived if you have a balance of $30,000 or more. That's as opposed to the platform, on a standalone basis away from Choice Trade, which would be $39.95 plus whatever data you would have through whatever broker other than Choice Trade that you have. So there's a significant savings there. As far as the commissions are concerned, we're at 40 cents per contract, up to a maximum of $50, or essentially 125 contracts. So if you're doing 125 contracts or more, essentially you're on a monthly basis, you're commission free. Beyond that, you do have to add regulatory and exchange fees to that. If you're doing an index option such as the SPX, there is a surcharge for indices of 75 cents, and that doesn't go away. And that 75 is a special rate for the Aramir group, whereas normally we're at $1 more. So basically, we're all in at about $1.15 but it goes down to 75 cents after the first 125 a month.
All right.
Great. I think the next one was Chris Carr's question about tagging.
I just got one more little plug here. One of the things about the fees, I'm not saying they're not important, they absolutely are, but one of the things I would also look at is how your fills are going, because that's one of the advantages. It's kind of hard to put a exact dollar value on that, but the fill rates I've been real impressed with at Choice Trade. And when you're doing spreads, especially if you're doing like condors and butterflies and stuff like that, I don't do too many butterflies these days, but condors, you get 4 legs, and working between that, it's actually, can really make a difference, and they do a great job with that. So anyway, so Tom, you had another one that
yeah, Chris asked, tagging is great. I'd like to manage an open trade as a spread, i.e. seeing the legs adds nothing. Can you show that in portfolio and on to entering a closing trade?
Yes. So in the journal, it does do it as a combo. You can certainly leg out, and it tracks it together if you got in as a group. If you get in as a group or you get out as a group, it pulls the whole thing together, so you know that. So just let you know that is there. You can certainly leg in and out as well. This is the positions view. And I'll show you 2 versions of positions view for a second. This is position view, and in this case, it's showing you like here's my Microsoft trade, but then I also have it is a spread. There's actually also 2 shares of stock in there for whatever reason, but there's my spread, so it'll show me my individual leg amounts as well as the total. And then if I want to close out the trade, and we also show you net Greeks and all that on your positions on that too. But if I want to close out the trade, I can click close for the individual leg. It'll open up the ticket accordingly, or I can get closed for the whole trade, and it will close out the collective. But I can see the profitability of individual legs absolutely through this. And then if you're legging in and out through that, you'll see not only the individual leg profitability, but then you'll see the trade. If you're in the life of trade view, it shows you that collective, right? So in the journal, I tend to demo it in the life of trade view, but there is actually a transactional view too, which is literally just a date order of the positions you did and what the profitability of each of those, in this case, legs would be if you're legging in and out of the trade. But the other part I do want to mention about like going through this and looking at your positions and managing that. If I go here to my, again, this is the positions page, same exact thing we were looking at, only we're looking at it in what we call the broker menu, this lower piece. And there's, to be able to see everything in here, we have all these different views, so you can kind of consolidate what you're looking at on this. And here you can see, again, Apple here. If you only want to look at collective, you can collapse it, and it will just show you the collective of it. But here it's showing you the legs of it. And if I want to close out anything there, I can. The other thing about this that's pretty darn handy is that in fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You can resize the screen. Oops, wrong direction. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. If you notice here, I've got that the dots are a stage trade, but I have this, this is my current position. So right away, if I go down this list, I can just start clicking down the list here, and I can see right away, right here, my position's like right is popped over that. So, I can be able to very quickly run down the list here and be able to see how I'm playing out. Again, here's my position down here. On that one, and there's Akamai. You see, so I can very quickly be able to do that. It's really kind of nice to be able to see the positions on the chart as you're going through it, be able to see your gains information here, and if you want that full page view, you can look at that as well. But I'll tell you that this is a very favorite way to be able to do it, because again, I'm able to see on the chart exactly where things are. I'm seeing my profitability. I'm seeing my individual legs. If I decide, oh, well, with what's going on here, I want to get out of let's say I want to get out of my short position, I just click that. It's going to fill out the ticket to close, sell to close that position. And it knows the quantities, all that stuff. So it's from a trade management standpoint, it's a great way to work with that. In fact, since you brought up the trade management, one other quick point to it. Let me go over here to my call put chain. If you have a position on, when you go to the call put chain, it's going to show you over on this side what that position is. So you see here, I happen to have stock in here as well, 2 shares, so what I was doing there. But here's my spread, and it's showing me my spread position right here. So just as a simple way, I mean, there's obviously, you can roll it out, do all this stuff, but just as a simple way to share this with you, let's say I wanted to buy this back. Actually, let me do this. Snapshot. Because I want to keep a picture of my current trade, right? And then what would happen if I bought this back and sold this instead, right? So now what I have here is that red one is the current trade I'm in. The blue one is the trade with my adjustment, right? So I can see here, I give myself more upside run if I do that, but I'm changing my break-even point and I'm adding my risk, right? So maybe I don't want to do that. You know, maybe I do. It's your call. But if you like that trade, then that's the adjustment. Right? And all I have to do is hit the trade button. It's going to immediately know what's your closing, a buy to close, and a sell to open. It's going to then log that as an adjustment and track that through. So trade management here, both from a standpoint of how are you doing and looking at the chart and what the strikes are, what the cost basis is a great way to be able to quickly move through, see that. Yes, you can exit individual legs or the entire collective of the trade. And then with any options position, when you come into the chain, you'll see that position, actually stock or options, you'll see the position and you don't forget about that you have a position on, by the way, which is in and of itself helpful. I've certainly gone into stuff I was already in and ended up in a different profile than I thought. This gives you the ability to see what you're in, play with adjustments, see how it works out for you. If you like the adjustment, a quick trade button, the smart ticket will know what you're opening, what you're closing, and how you're doing that, and then send out the trade accordingly.
Okay, we're getting more questions. A quick one, do you force updates? I think he's talking about the desktop versions.
So it actually is an auto. Yes. You're always on the latest version. It's, you know, the browser based is obviously the latest version because it's browser based. It's coming off the servers. Although with the PWA, it resides. Some of the stuff resides on your system, but it updates immediately. The download does as well. We don't force updates on Android and iOS. That, you know, on rare occasions, we had like a security change because of some things with brokers and stuff we made, and we forced an update for that. But rarely do we force updates on the iOS and Android ones. But you are always on the browser-based and on the desktop downloads. You are always on the latest. I will tell you that update usually takes somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 8 seconds. It's very
That's
fast.
quick. Yep.
Yeah, it's very quick. Because all it's doing is it's noticing what file changed, updates that specific file, and it you know, a lot of times it's even in the background as you're in. So it's very quick. But you are on the latest version all the time. Yeah.
Okay, Gary asks, any support for linking multiple accounts where similar trades are made across multiple accounts, the quantity differences on different accounts only, for instance?
So in the journal, you can you know, look at multiple together. So you can see that, but I'm going to tell you that what you're talking about is you're in a current trade, you know, because I could choose which accounts I want to see and all that. But if you're talking about P&L of a stock that has different positions across different brokers, we do not do that. We do not do that. You can see the activity together here in the journal, but as far as linking them together across accounts, because, you know, your margin requirements are going to be different across, and, you know, so on, and we haven't done that yet.
Could you push a trade across multiple accounts at once, like a portfolio allocation kind of thing?
We do have the that's the second time that request has come up in the last, like,
well, you know, just for example, say you're managing a child's account and your account and your aunt's or something, and you want to put the same trade on, but, you know, your daughter has a 1 lot, you have a 5 lot, and your aunt has a 10 lot, and you want to do it all at once. Is that possible?
One of the things that no, you're going to have to take the steps, but what you can do is whenever you do any trade in the system, there is the ability to stage that trade. So you can see, you know, here to review to trade it, or I can stage it. In my staging, then I have the trades listed here. And you can see here on Starbucks, so we have a trade that I did. I used the trade that was in staging, but I could certainly do it again, change accounts and do it again in that respect. So
yeah, it's fairly painless.
it gives you a place to put it that you can then fire it off across multiples, but it isn't like I could do the trade once and click several accounts and fire it off. But it does make it real easy to be able to do that trade across multiples, but it does take another click. But you don't have to set it up again. It's all set for you. Just change the quantity and hit, and hit review and trade.
Couple quick questions about backtesting. Can you pick the time for the backtest, or is it the closing data? And what granularity do you have for the option prices for your historical data?
So it is closing prices, and it's every option every day. So but it is the closing prices on that. It is not on the backtesting. We don't have the intraday. I will tell you that we explored that, and we talked with different trainers, and then also we have a group that we kind of expert users. We got some feedback from them as well. And the reality on backtesting for most people, I'm not saying there's not some value. There's definitely some cool things to be able to see if you had intraday, but for most people, it's a learning tool to better understand the strategy and how it would play out, or how to use that strategy in certain events and so on. So we've had it as the end of day numbers, and that's kind of, yeah, that is where it's at right now. So.
Okay, Marcus asks, can you mention about features for people in alert services? I think that's kind of what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, so yes, and actually this is one, Ron, I'm going to give a high level here, but if you want to add something to this, please jump in. There are alert services specifically set up with Choice Trade, and what happens with that, and this is, by the way, this is with the Choice Trade platform, or if you're on the Aramar platform with a Choice Trade account, it will also work that way as well. And what it will do is, when one of those, on Choice Trade, you go in and you fill out a risk profile on how much you want to risk on a trade, and and all, or shares, or risk factors. So there's different things you can fill out there. And then when a trade is fired off from one of those services, it will immediately show up. And they'll text you to let you know it happened also, but then it's immediately in your staging, and it will tell you the source here that it came from. So these are all my own stage trades, right? But then you'll have the ones that are fed to you, and it'll be in there, and it'll be sized appropriately per your risk profile. Obviously, you can change that if you want to, but it sets it up for you on that. So that is something that is available, where our partnership with Choice Trade works really, really well for that, because it does feed right into their Watch Plus, which feeds right into the platform with any of the services that you can subscribe to through them.
Okay, let's see. I think you already showed this. How do you monitor all open trades? And then is there also a screen for all working trades?
Well, you've got your order status for your current working trades, and and if any of these are filled, it would indicate that you can look at multiple day periods if you want to, and so on. So that's your basically your order status screen. For your current positions, it's again, you can do it from here, or you can do it from the full page view. The benefit of here is that you can then look at those trades through the either the chart or the options chain. So there is that that capability. And then of course in the gains part of this as well, it keeps track of your when you've closed out trades. You can group it by stock or not. I tend to group it by stock, and you can look at different time periods on it, and it'll show you your net gains and stuff in the trade. It shows your open, closed, and then if it's not collapsed, it shows you the number of days in the trade and so on. So you have this information. Although this information is, I will tell you that this information is a brief version of the more verbose version that's in the journal, because with that, it has all of not only the profitability of the individual trade versus grouping the whole thing together, but it also has all the rest of the tagging that you have for post-trade analysis on that. By the way, one of the things you can do is you can send a trade you actually did into backtest mode, so that it's not just a backtest trade, it's actually using your fill when you got in and your fill when you exited, and shows it to you in the backtesting mode, so that you can, armchair quarterback, or, post-trade analysis of maybe how you could have traded it better to get a better result. So it does have that capability as well.
And then do you beta weight the position? So do you see like a portfolio beta weighted delta, for instance?
We do not have, no, we do not have that. That particular feature is on a design track, but I don't want to make any kind of a commitment on timeline because there's some things that were, it's not on the, it's on the wish list. It's not on the current development track. The current development track goes out about 90 days to 4 months. But it is on the list, but it's not there now. That is not a
Okay. Yeah, that's important when the market's moving fast. You want to get flat.
Yep. Right.
Let's see what else. Can we export the portfolio? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say you were just about to mention it. I saw there was a question on being able to download data.
Right.
Certainly, historical data. All account information can be downloaded. From the prior day and backwards to the inception of the account. That can be downloaded to an Excel spreadsheet. For all account activity. In terms of downloading data from the platform, and we're talking, I guess, journaling and or option chains and such. I guess, Rance, you'd have to address that if it's able to do that.
Yep. So all watch lists, all scans, those can all be downloaded. And when you go to download a watch list, you can, it actually will ask you, do you want to just do the price or do you want the full data? So, for example, in the scans, you want to, what the whole analysis was in the scan at that time, you can download that. There is an export function in the journal as well to pull that out, although that is in a specific formatted PDF, but it is a PDF. So it can be extrapolated out of that. But as far as being able to export option chains, wouldn't be difficult to add, but that's not something that's in there today. Right. So, yeah, that wouldn't be hard. But that's not a current, that is not a current feature. If it's something that's really wanted, we could certainly look to that.
And for features, I know yesterday you said that at some point you're going to add futures too, correct?
Yes. Yeah. There's two things that are, well, futures is on the track as well. Again, it's not a Q1. Actually, my one of the partners here is works for the Intercontinental Exchange and works with futures in depth on the institutional platform over there. And we've talked about bringing some of the futures functionality in here. I've also done futures in a previous project. So it is on our, it's on that wish list, not the current development track, but it is something that if there's enough demand for, we can absolutely bring into play there.
And I also wanted to mention in terms of data download and what have you, aside from the platform and everything that you've seen, if there's a sophisticated technologist that wants to be able to just access the raw information, whether it's a data feed and or be able to trade through their own front end, we do have our own API at ChoiceTrade, so that you can write to the API and and have your own interface. But of course, that's away from both but from the platform itself, and that's available.
All right, I think we have one last question. Can we change working trades, or do we have to cave or cancel / open another trade? Yeah, like cancel, replace.
If you adjust a current trade, it operates behind the scenes. It operates as a cancel replace, but you can adjust.
So if you're got a certain limit price you're trying to get filled at and you want to change it, it's pretty simple.
Change it, right? You're trying to kind of work in the market on that, trying to see if it gets filled. If not, you want to back it down a little bit. So yeah, you can do
right.
That.
Okay. Yeah. Well, whew, I think we're finally through all the questions.
Yeah.
That's
a little
good.
Longer than we had. We talked, Tom, about that. I don't think we had anticipated a half an hour plus of questions, but
really good questions though.
Valuable. Yeah, it is. It is. And the one thing about this is that is some great questions on this through this. Glad to answer them here. I will tell you that if you want to take a look at it, it's a zero risk thing to be able to do so. You can either, again, if you have ChoiceTrade, you can do it over there. If you open an account there, you can obviously get it over there as well. First 30 days there is free. We also do offer the first 30 days here at aramar.tradetool.com. The first 30 days are free here as well. Zero risk. It's not charged. If you want to cancel, just pop in and cancel and give it a try. Within the platform, there is an extensive help center The Help Center, there's a whole bunch of stuff in it. The one I'll mention really quick is the video library. There are 3 kind of full-length, hour 15, hour 90, in-depth. This is the workflow design, purely stock functionality, options functionality. But then there's also a whole bunch of shorter topic-specific videos, including mobile. And you can go there. And if you want to download any of the stuff, you go to the Help Center and click on the downloads, and it gives you the links directly to be able to download those too, if you want to give those a try. So the Help Center is a really great resource to get even more out of the platform in short order. So that's there and available to you as well. Plus, we also do monthly webinars that are we usually do a 2 series, one on stock and one on options that we do each month. And if you're subscribed to the platform, you'll get notifications of that as well, and more than happy to join us for those.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
If anybody has any questions, they can email us at service@choicetrade.com. And whether it's platform or brokerage related, we'd be happy to to get to the answer. We'll just pass you along or tell you what needs to be done to get the answer you need.
And then, Ron, if people want to explore ChoiceTrade, it's just choicetrade.com, or is there any special URL?
No, you can go to choicetrade.com, and of course, Tom, I'll provide you with a link so that if people want to apply straight from your site, they can click the link, and we'll know that they're coming from Aramir.
Okay.
And we'll be able to take care of them that way as well.
Great, and I will put those links in the description for the recording, and on YouTube. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Tom. Really appreciate it. Great platform. I think I'm going to start using it because my option view renewal is coming up, and I don't really want to pay $1,000 a year when I can pay $30 or $39 a month for something like this. So. And by the way,
ours on an annual, it's $399 for the year.
Yeah, so I would save 60% versus option view. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the visual representation of a lot of what we do here. It just, I think it's easier navigation and more visual insight. So
yeah, and that PWA makes it so fast. Like you said, it's almost like a desktop app.
Well, in fact, I've had times where I'm doing like the full screen browser like this, that when I'm doing demos on that people, is that a download? I'm like, no, that's the browser.
The web base, yeah.
And it definitely is fast for that. It also, by the way, because of what we do, if you're on mobile, it's less data transfer, so it's quicker response, and also just less, if you're not on an unlimited plan, but it definitely is a lot quicker that way. So.
Right.
And by the way, you can use mobile. There's the mobile downloads, but there's also a mobile web. So if you log into it from your phone, you can access just mobile web. But if you want to do that before you do the download, in fact, if you do that, it'll pop up a little thing. Do you want to download the app? And it's one way to get there quickly. So
all right.
So that's available for you. All right.
Well, thanks, gents, and maybe we'll have you back on in the future. Go to other places like OptionView. We had monthly education webinars, so maybe
more than happy to do that. Would love to do that. If we wanted to invite when we do our broader webinar that talks, does the deep dive of the training functionality, not just demo. If you wanted to send that out to your particular
community, yep.
Your customers and that, let them know. They could certainly join that. So
great.
It's a real, it's a deep dive on functionality and how to use it more than a demo. But that can be really helpful for people to make that decision, so they can see that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks very much. Really appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll have you back in the future, and hope everybody checks it out because it's a really great looking platform. And ChoiceTrade has nice alternatives if you want to look for a new broker for better commissions. So thanks, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
Yep. We will see you all next time then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.